check out the following discussion between Omar Abdul Fatah of Ask a Muslim Facebook page, which has 1.5 million Facebook followers, and Abdullah Gondal on the preservation of the Quran. If you haven't seen a video before, such as the Sana Manuscript one or the Meccan Poet, you will love this.
I wanted to ask you one thing, actually, was the preservation of the Quran itself. Do you propagate it to be like a word for word preservation, no discrepancies? Like, how do you view it?
Absolutely. Like word for word, down to the letter. I do believe there are multiple readings of the Quran, but in terms of the way it was preserved, absolutely. I don't think there's there's no doubt about it.
Okay, but do you think like there's just one Arabic script and the pronunciations are different, but the wording is exactly the same?
Well, I think that if we look at the earliest manuscripts of the Quran, the ones that are available in Yemen and Birmingham, the words are the same, but the I guess the arkan, like the fatha, kasra, all those, they weren't there, right? Because even today, if you read an Arabic newspaper, they don't, Arabs, like, native Arabic speakers, they don't need those characters to pronounce the syllables, right? To pronounce the characters. So but yeah, they were added on later on so that people wouldn't, so that people could have more consistent recitations. But the wording is the same.
I mean, I challenge that too myself because the wordings differ drastically between the manuscripts, where there's like whole sentences rearranged, their tenses changed completely in between the Sana manuscript, where whole phrases are missing. Then in the Samarkand manuscript, the same thing. I did a presentation on it. I'll just screen share some. I just want to have your thoughts on it. So let me just make sure the screen's a little bigger so you can see. Okay, can you read it?
I can't read the actual manuscript itself.
Okay, no problem. So like this was from Sana, one origin of the Quran. There's two Muslims I believe wrote Benghazi, the Yemeni Quran. And in the lower script, right, we see these discrepancies where right now this text we have, like let's say in 2196 of the Quran, it says do not shave your heads until the offering reaches its destination. But the word ru'usakum isn't actually there in the actual manuscript. Do not shave until the offering reaches its destination. Then in the same words, there's another discrepancy that the normal one we have is faman kana, but the manuscript is fa'in kana ahadun. Okay, and then it lists a bunch of other ones. But what's interesting is there's a huge discrepancy in Surah Baqarah, verse 222, where the whole tense and the structure of the sentence is completely flipped. It's one place that says, I believe the standard one is وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا النِّسَاءَ فِي مَحِيدِهُنَّ وَاعْتَزِلُوهُنَّ حَتَّى يَتَطَهَّرُنَ. But the other one says فَاعْتَزِلُوا النِّسَاءَ فِي الْمَحِيدِ وَلَا تَقْرَبُوهُنَّ حَتَّى يَتَطَهَّرُنَ. Like the whole sentence structure is flipped. Then I mean you can see that the word nar and Jahannam is missing. I mean if I go.
Yeah, I would like to see this because I've never encountered things that drastic in difference. So I would like to see these. But in my experience, I was recently taking a course on Islamic world history, and one of the questions we explored was, can we use the Quran not as a scripture, not as a religious document, but as a historical document? Like, can we say that it is accurate enough to tell us about life in 7th century Arabia? And my professor, who, German guy, non-Muslim, he said, yeah, we know with fairly, like, we believe that the Quran has been preserved, and we believe that we can take it as a historical document. And for them, I mean, he's looking at it from a secular world point of view, but for me, from a religious point of view, I see that if a secular person saying that he can use it accurately to determine the past, then why can't I use it to say that this is indeed what the Muslims were reciting at the time?
No, I think there's a problem distinction. What he's saying is a historical, as in the sense that did it preserve the history of or the teachings of the time. Yes, it does echo that, like we discussed earlier. But the belief that Muslims have, or like you say, that it's a singular Arabic text that was not changed as it came out of Muhammad's mouth, and that's what we've been reciting, and that's what we have right now. So you are aware of the different rivayas, right? Like the different readings?
There's different recitations. They were even present during the life of Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah. So I'm aware of them. But I don't know them obviously in detail, but I know, for example, some words like you might have an extension, or the word might actually be completely different in some recitings. Because
well, I'll just show you, like, there's actual extra words in some, and then in some there's like a little bit describe, like a meaning does change as well a little bit. Let me screen share these again. Oops. So these are from different riwayat. There's the Hafs riwayah, the Warsh riwayah, there's the Duri, the Susi. You like about 6 or 7 of these are considered to be authentic, and then some scholars say, oh, there's 10 authentic ones, a total of 14. But what I'm trying to say here is, like, if you notice, like I can give you the whole file, the slides and everything with the details later on.
Yeah.
Like one recitation says kutubihi and one kitabihi. Like
I mean these are very minor differences. Like his books here, and his one book.
But like here, like the word huwa is additional in one, and there it's not even existent in the other one.
Yeah. What are the 2 recitations there?
I think it's Warsh here. This one is Hafs and this one is Warsh.
Okay.
I mean, there's
I can look into that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them where like sometime, and then the verse numberings are different. And there's like this one strikes me funny. There's where one it says a command that says qul, and the other one it says qala. He said, so in one place Allah is commanding, and then the other rest he's quoting. So that kind of affects it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another fatawakkal wa tawakkal allazina wallazina.
Yeah, these are obviously from an Arabic perspective, these are very minor differences. They're not like missing verses or added verses and all that. Like,
those are in the manuscripts, and that's another detail. Like if you go into more detail about the discrepancies and the infighting between the Sahaba as to what should constitute the Quran and what shouldn't, is even bigger. Like if you read books like Kitab al-Masahif by Ibn Abu Dawud or Imam Jalaluddin Suyuti's Al-Itqan or Al-Fahrist, they go into detail where abrogation, where hundreds of verses are gone, we're missing, and Sahaba were actually disagreeing. There's one hadith in Tirmidhi where Abdullah bin Masud was dissing on Zayd bin Sabit, saying, don't listen to the recitation of this man, for he was in the loins of his father when I was hearing the Quran from the Prophet. So there was a lot of infighting, and that kind of also explains why
they differed in regards to the recitation, but they were told by Uthman radiallahu anhu to defer it back to the Qurayshi recitation. So the way I see it is like when I compare, and this is no way disrespect to any of my Christian brothers and sisters, but when I compare the preservation of the Quran with the preservation of the Bible, there are clear interpolations in the Bible, like historically, where stories are added, right, and verses are missing. Whereas in the Quran, I've never seen evidence of that nature. And if you're saying that you have that, then I would really like to see it and study it and come to a conclusion myself.
Yeah, I would say that the Quran is relatively much well preserved in the Bible post Uthmanic, but before Uthman, there were indeed a bit of discrepancies, because you have allegations of like 2-3 surahs that were in the Quran that have been recorded by eyewitness accounts, but then they're not found in the Quran anymore in Ubay's Codex.
Those were 2 du'as that Muslims still recite today, but they're not included in the Codex.
Yeah, and like
language is preserved.
Yeah. So there's a lot of discrepancy with that. So I mean, in all essence, when I see the Quran's the content of the Quran and what it propagates, it's a very narrow view that was very centered around 7th century. It's not a universalist book.
Thanks for watching this clip. If you like this content, please consider supporting the channel. I have about 30 monthly supporters, and I would like to get this number to at least 100. This will help me spend more time on this project. Details are below. Thank you so much. This is Abdullah Samir signing out.